Okay, so hey everyone, welcome to another AWS service. So we are going to talk about AWS Transfer Family and how can we use this as for SFTP or for uh, FTP or even for one more protocol that allows us to transfer files all the way up to S3 buckets through an intermediate server called as an SFTP server. And let's also do the practicality of it in order to create our own SFTP server through AWS Transfer Family. And let's go ahead and upload our files, and automatically you will see all of those files will be residing in the S3 bucket for the specific user who connects to that respective SFTP server, right? So, but let's understand all of its features first. So let's get started. So AWS SFTP or Transfer Family, it was previously called as SFTP, now it's called as Transfer Family, provides fully managed support for file transfers directly into and out of S3, right? So with support over SFTP protocol or FTPS protocol or even FTP protocol, the AWS Transfer Family helps you seamlessly migrate all of your file transfer workloads to AWS by integrating with any existing authentication system. So if suppose you have a Microsoft Active Directory, or if suppose you would like to set up your own LDAP server, AWS Transfer Family automatically authenticates with those external authentication systems also. And it also provides DNS routing with Route 53, so you can associate a domain name with your SFTP server so that nothing changes on your customers or partner ends or even on their application side while uploading files through this SFTP server all the way to an S3 bucket, right? So with your data in Amazon S3, you can use it for a variety of AWS services using processing or analytics or for machine learning or even for archival features by leveraging the lifecycle transition policy for S3, wherein after a specific number of days, you would like to transfer all of your objects to infrequent access. And then from there on, you would like to archive it to Glacier and Glacier Deep Archive. So getting started with AWS Transfer Family is very easy because there is no infrastructure to buy or set up. So it's within a few clicks and within 10 to 15 minutes, you get started. So how does this transfer family work is that your customer chooses a protocol or a server endpoint, including their respective domain that they would have registered with Route 53 and so on. And they would use an existing S3 bucket or probably create a new S3 bucket for it, and also have individual folders within that S3 bucket for individual users, right? And existing users and applications continue to use their existing SFTP or FTPS or FTP client software such as Mobiduck or FileZilla or even the normal terminal-based SFTP commands, right? And without any existing changes, you can optionally go ahead and use DNS routing so that you can, your applications or your users can use the DNS host names in order to connect to that SFTP server. And everything is authenticated through AWS IAM, where we will have to create an IAM policy and also an IAM role for the type of transfer, right? And then I'll show you that IAM role on the console, but it should be of type transfer, and it should have a trust relationship of transfer.amazonaws.com with the sts.amazonaws.com as a principal, right? And then you have to go ahead and create a new S3 bucket, and all of your objects that you transfer will be stored in that S3 bucket under specific folders for different users of your SFTP server. And once it's residing in S3, you will be able to do any kind of archival or analytics or processing or machine learning. You can use a wide variety of AWS services, and you can probably even trigger a Lambda function for every file that is uploaded to S3 by a specific user on a specific path, right? So anything is possible, right? So some of the features are that it's fully managed and it's a highly available infrastructure. So your endpoint is designed to be available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You will get full redundancy across multiple availability zones within an AWS region. Again, it's elastic in nature because it has built-in auto-scaling, which means that you never have to worry about the provisioning of additional resources if your data grows over time or if there are more users over time. And it also supports multiple authentication methods such as Microsoft Active Directory and Lightweight Directory Access Protocol or LDAP. And it also manages the users within the service, which is something that we'll be seeing today when it comes to our practicality. So we will be creating our users and managing them within the Transfer Family service. It also allows automated conversion of files into native S3 objects. So for example, with your files stored in S3, you can use Amazon Translate to make processed documents more legible for international audiences. You can use Comprehend to extract relationships and insights from text files, or even you can use Amazon Athena to query your CSV files for analyzing any historical data using simple SQL queries of all of your data that is residing in your S3 bucket, right? And it has a simple user experience because for any external user, they can continue using any one of their SFTP clients such as WinSCP or FileZilla or any scripts that they would possibly write using the SFTP commands. Right? So the other features are it's familiar and it's comprehensive with all AWS management services. So with the AWS Transfer Family, you can use IAM for security, CloudWatch for monitoring, and even to store all of your logs. And you can also have event triggers to start post-uploading process. So you can also monitor all of your events that are happening through the SFTP server through Amazon CloudWatch events because it supports transfer as one of the rules. And you can also use KMS or S3 server-side encryption to control the encryption at rest with that particular service. And additionally, you can also utilize CloudTrail, which helps you meet the compliance requirements with the API activity of kind of auditing or compliance and as well as governance and so on, right? Okay, so that's all there is in terms of the features that it provides us. So let's go ahead and look at this on the console. So right now we are on the AWS Transfer Family page, and then we already have an SFTP server that we have created for us. So I'm going to walk you through the steps of creating an SFTP server. But before that, let me open up IAM in a new tab and let me show you that IAM role. So right now when you go to roles, you can see that there is a role on the bottom called as transfer role. So the way you would create this role is you can go ahead and click on create role, and then you would go down and choose the transfer service from here and go ahead and click on permissions. And now you can give this transfer service enough permissions to upload objects to S3. But right now, just for simplicity's sake and just for sample lab sake and so on, we are just going to associate the administrator access policy and go ahead and next click on tags, click on review, and give a role name and go ahead and click on create, right? But I already do have one created for myself. It's called as the transfer role. You can see we do have the administrator access policy created right now. And under trust relationship, this is something that I was mentioning is that the principal should be transferred at amazonaws.com. The action should be sts.assume role, right? And only when you have this and you go ahead and associate it with your transfer SFTP server, then automatically you should be able to go ahead and get access into your SFTP server, right? Let's go ahead and click on cancel. So this is the first step. You have to create the IAM role, which is of type transfer.amazonaws.com, which has a policy or enough permissions to go ahead and upload to S3, right? Now let's go back to the transfer family page. Over here, the first step is for you to go ahead and create a server. You can choose between three different options: FTP server, which is unencrypted in nature; SFTP, which is SSH file transfer protocol, which is encrypted in nature; and FTPS, which is encrypted with TLS encryption, right? So right now, for we are going to choose SFTP, right? Let's go to the next step. Again, over here, the identity provider is where you want to have it as service managed, or probably you want to go with custom, where you need to provide an invocation URL using API gateway. And you can also use Cognito for your authentication, where Cognito has SAML or markup language, which automatically talks to your on-premise LDAP server or Microsoft AD server, right? So you have to provide a custom provider using an Amazon API gateway URL and also the invocation role in order to invoke your API gateway URL. But to just keep things simple, we are going to go with service managed right now. So again, over here, they are asking you whether the endpoint type is going to be VPC hosted, which can be controlled using security groups, and it can only be accessed from within the VPC or even from outside the VPC, but you get that option to go ahead and leverage the VPC as well as your subnets. And you have to choose your subnets and then also go ahead and choose your security groups and so on. But right now, we are going to go ahead and keep it as publicly accessible, right? But with VPC hosted, you get that option of internet facing or internal in nature. But right now, for simplicity's sake, we are going to keep it as publicly accessible. And if you have a Route 53 host name already registered or a DNS name already bought and registered with Route 53, you can also use that because it will go ahead and create a Route 53 DNS alias record to your SFTP server, right? So that across all applications and all users can connect to that custom endpoint, right? Otherwise, it's going to present us with an auto-generated endpoint. So right now, I'm going to leave it as none and click on next. So next thing over here is if you want to log all of your, the interactions that people do with your SFTP server in CloudWatch, you can go ahead and configure a log role over here. And this is your RSA private key. So this is a private key that you'll be using in order to identify your clients when they connect over it via SFTP, right? So it again works on the basis of key pairs, like how you would connect to an EC2 instance. You need a private key and you're going to give a public key per user in order to go ahead and connect to this server, right? And tags, as you know, is for cost related purposes and also to track whether this particular resource is part of this particular project. Let's click on next. And let's go ahead and click on create server. So again, I would specify that you can give your RSA key, but it's optional in nature, but you can go ahead and give that. And let's go ahead and click on next and click on create server, right? So since I already have the server created, the second step that you should do is go ahead and adding users to that server. So let's go ahead and click on this particular server over here and click on add user. So the steps that you have to take over here is you have to give the user a name. So I'm going to use my best friend's name, Madan. And he's an amazing guy. He has worked on multiple cloud platforms. I look up to him literally every day for all of the things that he has done. So now when it comes to access, you have to choose that IAM role that you chose when you went ahead and first created, right? In the step one, you went ahead and created the IAM role, which was of type AWS transfer.amazonaws.com. And then you can go ahead and select a specific policy in order to scope down to this particular user and so on. You can also provide the home directory for that user. So I already have an SFTP bucket that I have created and within which I'm giving the home directory as Madan. So now this restricted feature over here would not allow Madan to go ahead and look at even the other folders within that specific bucket or even list that specific bucket for him, right? That's called as restricted. You can click on the info button. So you can see that your users will not be able to access anything outside of that folder, nor will they be able to see the bucket name or the folder name, right? So you can ensure to have more security features in terms of enabling the restricted. And the SSH public key is for Madan to go ahead and connect to that server's private key. So both of them should match in order for him to go ahead and connect to this SFTP server, right? Once you give this, and then again you can give tags and then go ahead and click on add that user. So I already have a user that I have created and that user is called as Akshay. And you can see over here his home directory is /Akshay for that particular bucket. And you can see that I have also associated the transfer role and the SSH public key I have also presented over here. And you can add multiple SSH public keys, right? And you can give tags. Once you have presented all this, you can see over here, you do have a custom endpoint, but without a custom host name. You have an, I would say, auto-generated endpoint given by AWS for us in order to connect to this SFTP server, right? So let's go ahead and connect to this. So the way that we would connect to it is by using the terminal. So I'm going to use the terminal over here. I do have my key pair within the ~downloads/directory. So therefore, the first step that I'm going to do is I'm going to type SFTP --help. Sorry. The things that I would need right now is I would need only -i for the identity file, right? So SFTP -i. The identity file is residing within my downloads directory, and the file name is this .pem file, which is my private key file. And then and then I'm going to specify the username that I'm going to connect and to that SFTP server, right? So now it has connected to the SFTP server. And now if I type pwd, you will see that my remote working directory is that respect to bucket within which the folder is Akshay, right? So now I can go ahead and upload a file. The way I would upload a file is to use the put command. I can go ahead and upload a file. I think I do have a file called producer.sh in my sample directory of my MacBook. Right? So it's uploading that file. Let's also upload one more file called consumer.sh. So it's uploading that file also. You can go ahead and read through the documentation of how you would download a file from S3 and so on, but it's that simple. Now let's go back to the bucket and let's look at the contents, right? So I'm going to scroll down and open up my bucket, SFTP bucket, within which I have a folder called Akshay. Similarly, you will have multiple folders for your different users. And let's go ahead and click on that. And now you can see we have send.py. And once you refresh, you see that we have consumer.sh and producer.sh. You can also go ahead and enable versioning on this bucket and all the different properties in this bucket, probably lifecycle transition, cross-region replication, all those crazy things you can go ahead and do, right? So this is it regarding AWS transfer. So I hope I would have covered most of the points regarding this. It doesn't pop up much in the Solutions Architect Associate exam or even in the Cloud Practitioner exam. It's something that is brand new, right? So I just wanted to cover this. So thank you for attending this session. I hope it was insightful. I'll catch you in the next lesson. Thank you. Bye-bye.